And here we go. Hello and welcome to Extra Connections Live. I'm James Lott Jr. And of course, I do these lives because I'm trying to connect with people in real time. I'm tired of just recording stuff. So I'm talking to people from various walks of life, mostly content creators. That's what my world is. And we're talking about life and all things that go with it and about content creation. So I have somebody who, is a legend, maybe in his own mind, our minds, whoever's minds. But I have followed him and we have a connection from a previous place that's no longer there. And I asked him to come on. He's a real talker and he's a real talker. And his name is similar to mine, Jim Alexander. Hi, Jim Alexander.
What a heck of an entrance, James. I couldn't ask for a better intro right there. I should have you as like my pitch man right there with that intro.
I'll just follow you around. I'll follow you around and give you intros everywhere.
Hey, that works. Or a pre-recorded one, where I can
exactly.
Play it.
Hi, Jim.
Oh, good to be on your show. I know we've been trying to make it happen. You and my good buddy Flobo always doing stuff. I'm always following you guys and seeing what's going on. You had my other buddy Jack Farmer. I mean, it was just due time that I show up at some point.
It was. It's coming to the universe, to the orbit. You had to come in here at some point. It had to happen. It had to happen.
Absolutely.
So before we get started, do a little housekeeping. This is JLJ Media, my online network, over 35 shows, running from soaps, which is as my bread and butter, to Star Wars, like Grogu's, and everything
I
in
can
between.
see 3 children.
3 children. I got more coming. But go ahead and watch all my stuff because I have something for you out there. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I'm also, if you can't find it on video and you want to listen to our voices, hello, podcast listeners, go ahead and go to JLJ Media on all streaming platforms, everywhere from Spotify to iHeartRadio, Google, Apple. I did it all to make it easy for you. Just tap in the name and you can find it. And also, I have more Extra Connection Lives coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's something new I'm doing this year. I'm trying out new things, and new is good. Doesn't it feel new these days, Jim?
Always.
Good. New is good. I'm trying to get into the chat room. Why my laptop decided it doesn't want to do what it wants to do. I guess I'll do something at some point. I'll see what's going on there. So, Jim, I have to ask the first question, the first most obvious question.
Yeah.
Are you a James?
I'm a Jim. I'm legitimately a Jim, like on my birth certificate. It's J-I-M. No, I get that all the time. People assume it's James. I'm like, well, actually, it's not. It is a Jim, straight up.
Wow. My father, obviously, I'm James Lott Jr., so clearly he goes by Jim Lott. He goes by Jim. That's his whole professional name. Personal is Jim. And I was like, well, I'm James. I'm not Jim at all. I'm James. But I'm like, that's interesting that you actually were born a Jim.
Yep.
I don't see that very often. And I know.
I know. It's kind of rare. People are always surprised by it. But I'm like, well, it's easier on me, I guess. 3 letters and roll in with that.
I guess so, right? It's so crazy. I'm like, so Jim, okay. What's your middle name?
Don't have one. That's another surprise.
Oh. So your parents your middle name. That's interesting. They tell you why?
Don't have one. How about that?
Did they tell you why?
It just never got around to it. I guess I don't know. Maybe my father just wanted to make things easy because he got to name me. So maybe, hey, the 3 letters I think say a lot in that case. If that's where we're rolling with. Imagine forget about the middle name. I couldn't even get a longer name more than like a handful of letters in it, for my first name. So
well, your last name's long. So you have a long last name.
And it's like a middle one too. It's like
it is. Actually, it is. You're right. It is.
Can go with that. 2 for 1.
That's so funny. I know I have one other friend where it's just her brother. He got a middle name, but she didn't. Only a year apart. I'm like, well, what happened in that year? You didn't get a middle name. What happened?
Some arguments, probably.
Yeah, that's like what it was. Well, screw it. We're not gonna just give it another screw it. You can't agree on it. Are you an only child, or do you have a brother or sister?
No, I have an older sister.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you're coming to me right now from Chicago or outside of Chicago or somewhere near Chicago?
Chicago suburbs. Yeah, right outside of the city.
I love Chicago. I used to go there like 10 times a year.
Oh, wow. You had like family or friends here or something?
I had some family work. I had work there.
Okay.
To me, it's like a Manhattan of the Midwest.
Absolutely.
It's very
with great food.
Very cosmopolitan. Oh, great food. Oh my God, I love it. Oh, I eat my way all through up and through Chicago. Oh, I'm like, oh, I mean, it's so good. I mean, so I guess for pizza
Yeah,
pies, you must feel they have the best
not at
style.
all. Not
Oh,
at all. Here's another surprise. I'm a New York style pizza all the way. No question about it. I think what I call the Chicago pizza, it's like mud. It literally one slice and you're dead because it's so heavy. It is literally, if you ever see a Chicago style deep dish, how it's made, it's like layers upon layers upon layers. It's like you're building a high rise or something of like cheese and sauce. And it's just too much. And it's like, I think you lose the flavor really at some point because it's just like a glob of cheese and some dough. That's what you're basically tasting. But a New York style slice, that thing is just dripping cheese. It's thin. You can fold it. You can get the taste of it and everything. I love it. There's no comparison. I mean, not to say that there's not good Chicago pizza. There's some good spots that have like thin sliced pizza or non-deep dish. There's good spots, but if I had to choose between Chicago and New York all the way. When I was living in LA, by the way, best New York style pizza,
tell me.
La Monica's in Westwood.
Oh, okay, I've been there. Okay, I've been there. Yeah, it's
So
good.
good.
It's good. It's good. And I know where that is. So yeah, I've been there. It is good.
Mhm.
Actually, it is good. It's hard to find. Actually, pizza in LA is not the greatest to me.
Not at all. No.
It
But
really
La
is.
Monica's, it's worth the drive. I would drive out from Studio City all the way to Westwood on like Sundays to pick up a New York style pizza. It would be worth it.
You did drive. Okay, folks who live in LA, that's a drive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a commitment.
You have to come here, especially on that side. So I live in Inglewood, so I live on the west side anyway, so just need to go straight up.
Oh, so it's closer for you, yeah.
Yeah, for you got a whole thing going on over there. So yeah, I know
Valley all the way out to Westwood, man. It's like people won't even go to like see their wives out there, much less, get a pizza.
Well, that brings hello people in the chat room. Hello, you guys. Speaking of that, we both were at AfterBuzz TV at one point. So I was there almost 7 years. How long were you there?
I was there about a year and a half. Like, let's say a year and a half. Because I think I literally started, January of 2019, and I was there till like May, I think, of last year. So yeah, year and a half.
What got you there?
I've been, when I moved to LA, I was hearing a lot about it, and I used to be actually a fan of it when I was living in Chicago. I would tune into some of the after shows, like the Bachelor after show, and I heard about it, and I didn't know about what it was. And when I started doing red carpets, I kept on meeting everyone else at AfterBuzz. I'm like, how is everyone there? So I finally had Mina. Was it? Or no, Louise Shar. She
Oh yeah, I love her.
Yeah, Louise is great. She finally like, I'm gonna write you a recommendation because you need like that. It's like trying to get into the CIA or something. You need to do all these recommendations, a bunch of tests, skills tests, all these things to get in there. So she wrote me a cool recommendation. They called me back eventually, and I started that whole thing in 2018 towards like, I think in November of 2018, but obviously the holidays happened. So I had my kind of, orientation in January of 2019.
Yeah, I missed all of that because I was early. I slid my way. It was the old days, the house in Encino.
I heard about those stories. Yeah.
The house. I actually missed it. So I'm one of the OGs. So I kind of slid my way in. After 3 or 4 months, they're like, James, you probably should do the orientation. And back then, the orientation was a video and like some spit and glue or whatever. And it was like, here's what we do. And actually, the video was down. So I've never seen the video. I've never seen it. And I ran my orientation.
Wow.
After folks, they were like, we know you from that Days of Our Lives show. I'm like, James, can you run the orientation? So I was like, okay, Roxy, sure. And I basically kind of ran it.
Hey, we're busy today, James. You've been OGs already with us. So just let him in,
Exactly. I just love that. It was just kind of like, can you tell me what goes on here? I'm like, so to your left, I'm like a flight attendant. To your right, it's over here, and then peanuts will be at lunch. But yeah, it was kind of it was a very interesting thing. I never knew about AfterBuzz. I never knew what it was. A friend of mine, was like, "You should come on this show," and I'm like, "Where?" They're like in North Hollywood. No, it's Encino. I'm like, Encino.
Yeah.
Who goes to Encino?
Yeah.
On the 405. God, I mean, it took me an hour and a half. Oh my God! So you just said about traffic. There were times when I would wait a few hours before I headed back
Oh
home.
man.
Here than driving home in the traffic.
I mean, that's a hike for you from Inglewood to Encino. Man, you're going all deep into the valley, actually. Whoa. That's commitment. They better throw the big bucks at you early on, man, because I had it easy. I was in Studio
They
City.
let me do what I wanted a little bit. That was my reward. I got to create shows and things. So.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, that's a pitch. I was in Studio City. I always had a quick drive. So for me, it was just like, I didn't, 10 minutes and I was there, you know, when the place was in North Hollywood. So for me, it was just like everyone I hear, you know, our buddy Flobo would drive all the way from Palms, you know, which is in your area too. Yep. And everyone's coming from all over. I'm like, damn, I have it easy. No traffic, just, you know, just in the valley down, that's not hard, you know?
So for you, okay, so you're a red carpeter. That's not even a word. We're not making up a word.
It is now. Yeah.
Now it is. You're a red carpeter. And I did go to college. I got degrees. But I was a red carpeter, and I've done red carpeters too, but you're a red carpeter. So did you want to be a host at some point? Or were you because red carpet is very different. It's a very different world.
It's an animal.
It is an animal. I had no idea as I got a red carpet. I'm like, oh, so here's your little spot right here between these other people. And you're like, don't go to him. Don't go to him. Like, what? Don't go to me. What? Like, all these kind of weird things that go on in red carpets and all the rules. But did you want to be a host also? Or was that?
No, it never came to me. Not at all. You know, it's not something I aspired to be like, hey, you know, I never thought of that. I mean, I went to school in Chicago for journalism, right? So I thought I was going to be like a reporter for like the news or something. And I took a class with this guy, Rick Brown. He's known around these parts. He's put in, I think if you turn on the TV to see like news people around the country, he's taught him at some point, you know, he's that well known. And I remember taking his class and everyone was so scared of him. He was like this military, got a drill sergeant, like the old school kind of tough, hard nosed teacher. But if you survived his class, he found a liking to you, and he had a world of knowledge. So I survived. I think 80% of the class didn't return for the second class, you know? Yeah.
Hey, okay.
And I did. And, you know, after a while, like we do like stand-ups and things like that. I'm like, okay. And you have to shoot your own story. So I'm like covering sports and sort of entertainment stuff around Chicago. I'm like, you know, I found that to be more interesting than any of the news stuff. So I'm like, I think that's kind of my niche, because when it came to like news and politics, I didn't care about it. But it was like entertainment and sports. I'm like, yeah, that's my thing, you know? So yeah, that was kind of like, I like doing stand-ups. People dreaded it, you know? So it came natural to me for some reason. And I remember at my graduation, he'd be like, you know, Alexander, I see two routes for you. Either you're going to be the next Ryan Seacrest, or you're going to work at like a local public access television station. I'm like, well, gee, thanks, Rick. Either I'm going to be like a millionaire or you're going to be making minimum wage. High aspirations, I guess, in one end, but in the other, not at all. So that was my turn into it, you know, and I start kind of doing, and I was also a film critic at the time in Chicago too. And I would do, like, I got a few bones thrown at me doing some interviews, whether phone interviews, and they'd have like a premiere once every 5 months in Chicago for like a film that was shot here. And I would cover it because I was the only local media pretty much. We didn't have that much media out here. So I did a couple of red carpets. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. You get to talk to like these actors and stuff. And when I got to LA, it just kind of, the world of it opened up to me. Like, this is what people do. And you know, this is like a daily thing. And that's how I kind of fell into it. But I was doing red carpets before I got into to AfterBuzz.
Right. So I want to go back to that for a second, because red carpets are very interesting. And tell me one thing, if you're going to do red carpet, what is one thing you should be prepared for?
fighting for your life and fighting off people to get in your questions, you cannot be mellow. You cannot be passive, because you're going to get torched on that. If you're passive, you're never going to talk to anyone. You need to be a dog. Literally, you need to be aggressive. You need to go after it. And there's an etiquette too. You don't want to be an a-hole, on the red carpet, because there's you will know people who are, who just like complete douches or whatever it is, but you need to be friendly. And the best, I'd say, advice is like, talk to the people next to you, and kind of sometimes you can agree on like, hey, if I get this, I'm going to move it over to you, or I'll pass. Like, you need to have coordination skills and try to be good to your neighbor next to you. I think that's one way of success at it, but you cannot be passive. If you're passive, you're just going to disappear in the madness.
I wore a purple velvet suit once. So yeah,
stands out.
And I got a lot of interviews because of it. I was like, oh, what's going on over here? We got some Prince going on. I was like, come to Prince, come over here to Prince, and let's talk. And I got to talk to a lot of people literally based on that suit. Actually, my suit went viral later. I took a picture with Kelly Pickler. She had a yellow dress on. We just kind of matched together. It went viral. But I got her to talk because she said she walked by with her husband and go, "We want a picture with you later." I was like, "Okay, sure." And then they found me later together. I mean, so I think it's kind of like outfits, hair, whatever you do.
Totally. Right? Your look matters, because you need to do something to catch your attention. Like, you see mine outfits? Check out some of my social media. I wore this like bling and like I wear yellow blazers, like bright yellow blazers, like the sun, or like a banana, like I wore all sorts of stuff. Like, you talk about crazy. I've never had a crazier wardrobe than I started going on red carpets. Like, and I'll tell you what, the best go-to red carpet wardrobe company, Inc.
Oh, okay.
They sell them at Macy's, and Macy's like the store that carries it. It's Inc. is the brand. It's called. They have awesome kind of eclectic, cool, funky suits and just outfits. So most of mine are from there that I ever wore on red carpet.
Macy's Inc. Sponsor his show.
There, that's right.
Yeah. Sponsor him. Give me a shout out. Yeah, no, it's a trip. Who has been your biggest get on a red carpet?
I guess McConaughey. I don't know how he ended up, but he did. I was literally the last on the red carpet, and he was just like leaving inside. And I was just standing there, and maybe I was like a lost cause, or a charity case or something. When he came over, I'm like, "Yo, Matt, can you?" And he's just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." His publicists were kind of surprised, and they're like, "Real talk? What?" Like, I'm like, "Hey, he's here, so we're talking." So I got a few minutes with him, and that was cool. I think that's like the biggest big name in a sense. It wasn't my coolest interview, but I think it was probably the most prominent person that I got one-on-one. And I also got a kind of a Q&A type of thing with Will Smith. It wasn't as direct one-on-one, but I had like 2 questions back to back on a Q&A with him. So
that's good. That's good. We'll take that. The Real Talker. So how'd you come up with that title? I love it, but how'd you come up with that title?
Yeah. I remember when I was a critic in Chicago, and I was writing for this website. I freelanced for a lot of years. I was a critic for this site called The Movie Blog, and all these other kind of movie websites. And at some point, I was like, what would happen if I ventured out and created my own site? I'm like, would I have enough credibility? Would people first of all, how do I stand out, and what do I name it? Because that's going to be crucial. That's going to be pinned to me, So I remember talking with someone, and I was saying, I'm like, well, it's got to be movie related. So it's got to be catchy, but there's a lot of real stuff, REEL, And I'm like, okay, I'll make it so it's like specific to movies, because people need to know what the subject is, movies and film and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I think real works, and it you could spell it and make cool logos out of it. But what's the second part? It can't be the only part. And then there was something like, well, what do I do? What am I known for? Talking, And then I'm thinking, okay, real talk. I'm like, no, I've heard that before, and there's already someone that had claims on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I'm not I'm a talker, it's me individually. I'm one person. I'm like, real talker. Hey, no one had the dibs on it. And at that point, I'm like, that fits me. That I'm talker. You know, it's individualized more. So it was not like a whole company. It was just one guy. So I'm like, real talker. Okay, let's go with it. You know, and that's how it kind of started by like on just brainstorming.
Well, even if you got to a company and became a brand, because my other business is a super organizer.
Yeah.
But you could have super organizers, you could have real talkers. If you could expand, good.
Yeah.
If the brand is a real talker, it could actually continue.
Exactly. And you know what? I even thought, like, if something were to change, if I wanted to expand, I can play on it too. If I want to jump out to something more, I can just switch the REEL to REAL, you know? And if I want to start covering real talk and discussions about things, I can expand, you know? But in the essence, at the end of the day, it's not as much about the name, it's me, right? So it's I'm the only one running it. It's not like a major corporation or anything. The name is cool and it's catchy and it stays, but at the end of the day, I'm still the real talker, right? It's me, you know, it's kind of Jim Alexander under the subtitle of that. So, you know, I guess I am the brand and the name fits me to the name of who I am, you know, and what I kind of am about.
That's true. That's very true. What makes a good critic, you think, in your opinion? I never asked it before. I know many critics.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what makes a good critic. One that doesn't BS and follow everyone else, you know, in a pack. That it's like a herd of sheep. You know, they all love to follow. One thing I learned about film critics, and I've been around plenty of them, is that they hate being singled out. They hate like going against the grain. Like, oh, everyone hated a movie and they're the only ones they liked. Like, oh no, I can't like it if everyone else didn't. F that. You know what I mean? I've always been like, whether I like something or not, I don't care. I don't read other reviews before I post mine. Afterwards, sure, I'll check them out. But before mine, I don't want my opinion to be influenced, you know, because it's easy in this industry that people just love. Look at when award season comes. Like, it's all unanimous. You think all these people agree on one movie around the country? Hell no. There's hundreds of movies that come out in a year, but they're like, oh, yep, unanimously, this is the best movie. Really? Why? It's because no one wants to step out on a limb. No one wants to go against the grain. So just like, it just like what you like. And another thing is, people always, the way they view it, I always found it weird how critics view movies. It's like, well, if it's not an Oscar quality movie, it sucks. Listen, we go to the movies to be entertained. There's so many great comedies or dramas or thrillers or superhero movies or action movies that are never going to sniff an Oscar, but are great movies. So why would I compare every rating to some Oscar-worthy artistic something crap? No, if Avengers is great, you know, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? Or whatever, because I'm not grading against like its Oscar worthiness. But I feel with critics, like everything in their mind, that's why you never see comedies ranked high. You never see romantic movies ranked high. It's all like, ooh, they're scared to give it a high grade because it's not Oscar worthy. It's a comedy or it's a superhero movie. Can be. Man, just be real. React how you feel about a movie individually. If you liked it, own it, stay with it, give it a high score. Don't care what people will think. That's been my approach.
That's true. I guess it's very interesting that world. I know that world is very cutthroat and stuff too. There's a lot going on. I mean, a lot of critics in there where they tell me how it could be a mess. I guess being in that world, I'm thinking, well, you're just reviewing movies, right? That's all you're doing, or TV shows or whatever. I mean, it's all
they take it too seriously. First of all, they do. These people think like they're world beaters or like changing the world. Like, dude, you're not doing brain surgery. You're not doing anything that's important. You're talking about a movie, and movie criticism is opinion. Right? Whether no one's going to always agree with it, and you're going to be okay with it. Like, everyone, you know, takes in a movie differently. It speaks to you individually, you know, in some ways. One thing that I might hate might be someone's greatest movie, or something that I love, someone might hate it because they have a different perspective and they connect differently with it. So first of all, I never think of critics being this end all be all. Like, I would never let a critic influence what I'm going to see. Never, even though I did it. Because it's your personal opinion at the end of the day.
So you and I are in opinion television.
Yep.
And I'll share a story. So I started. Well, first I had my own radio show. That's how I started. I had my own radio show. Got to AfterBuzz, and I'm still doing it 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
But at AfterBuzz, it was the host me. I was like you, had no plans of being a host on any kind of thing. Got into it. My first couple of years, mostly soaps. And you know this from wrestling, you know this from other things.
There's a fan base for that for sure.
Yes, there is.
Consistent.
And they're crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy. No. And let me right there. No, but they're a strong fan base, and I would go on, and I'm talking about like a character, not a person, a character.
Yeah.
I don't like this character together. And I'll tell you, over the last 7 years of my life, I've gotten death threats. I've gotten screamed at. I've had actors scream at me. I mean, I've had all kinds of stuff. And so I'm thinking over my opinion. I tell all the time, who cares? I mean, you have a right to not like my opinion. Like, who cares? So I want to ask you, how has it been for you with your opinions?
Man, that's what I'm known for is opinion.
Have you ever been blasted?
Oh my God. That's all I have been. I don't know what it's like to be liked. You understand that? Like, I don't know what it's like to have a fan base, okay, in the sense because everyone hate it, especially on AfterBuzz. When we do wrestling, people, you talk about soap people, add times 10 for wrestling fans. They're so passionate and so fanatic about the characters and the people. They won't death threats like that. That's the least of my worries, you know, and that's they're crazy in that sense. That's how involved they are, and that's how the product matters to them. So for me, I was known as the heel Jim. They called me heel, meaning like bad guy Jim, right? That's in wrestling terms. And because I would always have these hot takes, people thought they were hot takes, but it never was a hot take to me. It was just my opinion. I'm like, yeah, this guy sucks, or he's not going to be good. And just because he's like a 5'4" guy that everyone kind of envisions said like, oh, it could be me wrestling. Like, no, he's gonna get squashed by the 7-foot giant. Okay, he's good. This guy sucks. He's like, he can't be smaller than me in size to be like a legit professional wrestler. You know what I mean? I should not be able to squash a wrestler. So when I would give these takes about some of these guys, my goodness. Oh hell, you know what? How I got fired from AfterBuzz, it was because of that. Because I literally said a thing about a wrestler saying that he was too small in stature. And I'm not judging him as a person. I don't know him as an individual. I'm judging what I see in a ring as a character. I called him by his name, his character name, not by his real name. You know?
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. Okay, yes.
So someone tweeted at him, and they cut out the clip that I said. They tweeted at him, this dude came at me saying, I've been doubted all my life. It's because of a-holes like you. And I'm like, what is this? Then all these other wrestlers start chiming in and saying, like, how can AfterBuzz allow someone like me? I'm like, I never said anything derogatory about the guy. I never questioned anything in his personal life or about him as a person, just him as a character in the wrestling setting. AfterBuzz came to me and told me I need to remove that because it's offensive and they have close wrestling relationships and there's someone that they work with that doesn't like my opinion. I told them, F you. I'm not going to delete any. And it's, you know what? The funny thing is it was up for 3 weeks on AfterBuzz's site and no one said anything until someone copied and pasted and gave it to the wrestler. So it's like, oh, you didn't have a problem when you aired it, right? But 3 weeks later when some fan reached out or something, made the guy aware, now we have a problem with it. And I had a stern call with Steven and Roxy about, how damaging this is and how I must remove it immediately. I'm like, no, the day someone's going to tell me what to do and control me and control my opinion. Now, if I did something derogatory, which I never would, because I know my limits, and I know what's right and wrong. If you're calling out someone, personally, then it's a whole different story. But when you're calling out a character and I'm going to be told what to do, then I'm not legit. Then I can't have my own opinion. Then it's like you're censoring me, and I'm not going to ever allow that to happen. So that was my end at AfterBuzz. I'm like, I'm never deleting that. Sorry. So they're like, well, we're going to have to let you go. I'm like, well, cool. And then 2 months later, they were let go of themselves. So
they're dead. They're in name only.
Right. Hey, someone need to rent out a building on Cahuenga. It's available.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. Well, I'm shady, so I don't care. I'm openly shady. Okay, so Demo, who I know from the soaps, but
Demo's great.
Hey, James, Jim was the king of the Raw after show. His takes were always good. Yes, Jim always gave good wrestling takes because he was always honest on the product. If the WWE is bad, he will say so.
No doubt. And
You got
that's
a
how I
fan.
feel.
You
Demo's great,
got
by
no
the way.
fans. You got a fan there.
Yeah, I do have a fan. Demo
I
has
know
been
Demo
a great one, so I'll say that. I have a few people that stuck with me and agree because they see it. Yeah, like it's never personal. It's never me personal. I'm just criticizing the product and and having opinion about it. You can't. I remember AfterBuzz would say like, "We're a network of super fans. You need to love everything." And they told me that. I'm like, no, I don't need to love everything because it's impossible to air it. Can you imagine, James? Every soap you watch and every character, you gotta love it. Are you kidding me? Like, what a phony I would be then, be like, oh my God, they're the greatest. This is the best thing I've ever seen. But then who wants to listen to that too? This pandering, because then it's phony. People know you're not being honest, So no, that's not my style. Never would do that.
Many people have said when I mentioned you, oh, well, Jim Alexander is very Jim Alexander. And they mentioned me, James Lott Jr. is very James Lott Jr. So I'm in good company then. I'm in
perfect,
good company.
perfect match.
Perfect match. I was like, we're in good company. I know. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you stood up for yourself. I know. I think it's one of those things where you said something on another show. Maybe it was Flubos. You said something. I was like, that's right. I go, I've never said, hey, AfterBuzzers, on any of the 7 years I was there. I never did that. I never talked a certain way they want me to talk.
Hey guys.
Oh my God. I was always me. I have my own intros. I have my own outros. I mean, I followed the format, obviously.
Sure.
But I did.
Sure. There's a format.
I did my own take on it. Because here's what I think, Jim. There are 100 million thousand choices on the internet. They don't have to watch us. They can tune on to something else. So my job's to entertain. That's my job. That's my number one job. The chances are, if they've seen the matches already, they've seen the soaps episodes, you're there to entertain. So you're there to give your opinion. That's what they told me I was supposed to do. So I give my opinion. And if you don't like it, that's fine. That's your right not to like my opinion. But then censoring you is never a good thing. And I think, and a couple other friends on other shows later, they were trying to censor them too. And I was like, but your fans know that's how you are. How can you let them censor you just to be on the air? I'm like, no.
Doesn't work that way, James. People are not stupid. Fans are not dumb. They recognize when you're being real and you're being fake. You know what I mean? Because this whole smile and be happy, that just it's like you said, it's all about entertainment at the end of the day. People have so many choices. Like you nailed it. You said it. People know what they saw. They want to hear something where they can debate. They want to hear a different opinion. They want to have fun. I would dance on my shows. I would turn on the music at boudoir or whatever. I'd pull out moves. It's because of entertainment. I want people to either hate me, like me, laugh at me, whatever it is that they choose to do. Because at the end of the day, I want them to have a good time. That's what it's about.
I agree. No, I totally agree with that too. So I mean, I just shows like, come on, I'm back, bitches. That's my opening line. I'm trying to censor on that. I'm not censoring my. That's my everybody. The fans. If I don't say it, they're like, the fans. You get certain things you get into. If I don't say I'm back, bitches, at least once, I mean, they get upset.
Yeah.
I said I didn't cuss. I was good. So I made up phrases like cheese and crackers. God bless America. It's not a fan say it all the time, like cheese and crackers. But I don't want to cuss. So I did modify it. But like, if someone told me, James, you can't say that anymore, I'm like, why not? That's part of my thing, and the fans love it. Like, isn't that what we're here for? Get the views, and they like it. I was like, that's why I'm not in business. But anyway, there's many things there that's why they're not together. But I will say, minus the shade. Okay, folks. I don't know anything about wrestling, but I will ask this question because he is my guest for a little tangent. Does Jim still have love for Mandy Rose?
Always and forever. Absolutely.
Okay, explain who the F is that? Who's Mandy Rose?
Google Mandy Rose. I'll tell you how much love I have for Mandy Rose. I have a cardboard cutout of Mandy Rose with her signed signature that Evan Mack got me, another AfterBuzzer. And it's still literally next to my bed. Like, I get questions whoever comes over, Mandy Rose is and always will be mine forever. And I have that cardboard cutout still by my bed. Love her.
She's really pretty.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's my dream woman, James. If Mandy Rose, like, if I had a genie or something to ask me 3 wishes, Mandy Rose as my wife would be one of them.
So you like the blondes?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, they have more fun, they say.
They do, yeah.
She's
I
a
mean,
good age.
hey, I'm about everything, so it's like for me, I'm not discriminating. Hey,
Your guys,
I'm about everything.
so that's just not, we're easy.
I'm
Oh no, she's 30
multi-flavored.
years old.
Yeah, Mandy Rose.
So
For
you
sure.
date you date any race, any size, just as long as
Absolutely.
as long as they're
Absolutely,
chicks,
I have.
into oh, you have. Oh, you have.
I have.
Have you dated black?
I went on dates. Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it just doesn't turn out for whatever reasons, but oh yeah,
Right.
I have.
Latina?
I have.
Okay, let's face it. Okay,
I have.
okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, good for you. I like that. That's good.
Especially in LA. Especially in LA. That was so great over there. There's so many, different people from different cultures and places around the country and world. It was great, So yeah.
That's true. Well, how's Chicago though? How's that?
Chicago, when it comes to, it's a lot of Europeans in a lot of ways too. So it's European centric. Like I'm Polish by background, so there's a lot of Polish people out here. But in LA, I couldn't find one, at all. So
where are the Peroskis? I need one.
yeah, seriously, like I'm cooking. Come over if you're around, if you're living in the state or city. But yeah, no, but here it's a little bit different. So it's more like European, Eastern European and stuff. And I mean, of course, you have all your races and nationalities too. It just, in different places in the country, there's different, like you will see tons of Australians in LA, right? Australians and Brits.
Yes.
You won't find an Aussie in Chicago if you were looking for one in it's like a needle in a haystack. They're just not here. So you won't find it. Very rarely you will run into a Brit out here. But then there's a ton of Irish people out here. So it's a different mix, and there's tons of like Germans and stuff.
Yeah.
Where I couldn't find that in LA. So and a whole load of Italians too out here. It's like, well, it's the food too. I'm starting to go into like cultures and food here. Like,
yeah, it's like, well, it's all circled together, but it's all
together,
right? Okay, so opinions. So how did you go before the stuff that went down, and now because you still do shows? I mean, how do you handle people so that you don't censor yourself? Like for me, I say I don't care. I just give it out anyway. I don't care. So how do you handle it?
I don't think about it. And here's the thing. I don't ever, like, I have the common sense, and like you have this subconscious when you know you're going to say something bad or something controversial, like you just stop yourself. You know how to self-censor, kind of like if you've done it long enough, when it's boiling up or coming to that point and where you need to stop. So it's like, it's unless you've done it, you kind of know it's like this on and off switch, right? That when it's it's coming to red, and you know what I mean? Like, and you got to tone it down in that way. If it's something overly controversial, but I don't even have these thoughts. But on the most part, no, I am who I am, and I'm going to have opinions. I'm going to let it fly, unless it's, it doesn't offend anyone usually. Like as long as I'm not criticizing someone's race or gender or anything like that, which I wouldn't, because that's not even on my mind. So I feel like everything else, especially if you're talking about shows or TV or actors or public figures, hey, criticism is part of they're allowing themselves to be criticized for certain projects or things they've done because they're a public light. So I don't censor myself in that way. I just keep it real all the time. I take chances too. I think this industry is, people are too self-censored. They're afraid to say anything. I might be, oh my God, what if they think of this? Or what if they don't like what I said? Then you're in your head. You cannot allow yourself to be in your head. I just say the first thing that pops up to me. And yeah, like, I will interview an actor and I'll just be like, I'll just call, like, today I interviewed this director and actor, Fisher Stevens, right? He's directing this new Justin Timberlake movie called Palmer that's coming out. It's got really high praise about it, but Fisher's been in a ton of stuff. He's worked with Wes Anderson and several projects. So I just call him Fish. Like, I didn't know if he liked that nickname or not. I'm like, hey, Fish. And I just rolled with it. If he's not going to like, he's going to correct me. And I'll be like, okay, my bad. But that's like a little chance you take right there, but it also makes it more personable and more personal, because it shows like you're open, you're not afraid to even kind of make it a friendly connection, even assumption in that sense. You got to take minor chances to it, even as simple as that. So I've always like, yep, I'm going to go for it. What's the worst that can happen, right?
How do you describe your personality? If someone said, who's Jim Alexander? How would you describe it?
My personality? Um, well,
He goes off, he's like, "Good night, everybody." He's like, "I'm done."
yeah, the censor moment. No, I think I'm outspoken. I would like to think, like, I remember coming to LA, especially like in our industry, people be like, I remember when I was in a class or something, like, what's your brand or something, like, you know, you got to pick your brand, what's your style? And you're like, oh, my brand is authenticity. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Authenticity is a brand? Are you crazy? Like, you people have any sense of like reality? Authenticity is who you are. It's a part of your personality. It's not a brand. It's not something schemed that you want to sell or like, or you can make or create. It's like you either have it or you don't. So for me, it's just like, I am literally Jim Alexander, which is authentic, raw, real, honest, transparent. People always say I'm very direct and forward. And it's, I don't know if it's a Midwestern thing or it's like a Polish Chicagoan thing, but it just is. It's part of my, I've always been that way. You know, I've never BS or sugarcoat things. It never works out. It never helps you in the long run. And people know, like, I would hate to know that, you know, like, I would hate when people would be fake or phony to me, because you can tell. And I would never want anyone to think, oh, he's phony, he's a fake, or he's just doing that. Like, yeah, I'll do stuff to heighten my personality for entertainment purposes, but it's still my personality. It's not me being fake. It's just me heightening kind of my persona, maybe, or like the way I'm saying things on a louder scale, but still my opinion, my thoughts. I'm just always, for me, it's simple. Keep it simple, keep it real. And that's my personality. You know, I pride myself on being an authentic, direct, real person.
I'm very similar. So I'm very similar. We have two personalities, but I'm very similar the same way. I'm just, well, I guess, I mean, for me, because I came into the business in my 40s, so I was like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
So that's
own it who you are,
oh,
and be proud of it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because like, here's the thing: people are gonna like you and dislike you no matter what you do. You can't control that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like, if I start thinking about all the things that people like or say about me, I could care less, because at the end of the day, it's like, I know that I'm being myself. And if I can look in a mirror and always say, hey, was I me? Was I authentic to myself? Yup, I'm good. You know, that's all that matters. And you, and James, it comes through with you too. You know, you're always, you can tell you have this bubbly, big personality. You know, you like to laugh and smile, but also be outspoken at the same time. But that's you. You know what I mean? And you know that someone's not a phony that way. You're like, oh, he's being James. He's being himself all the time. And that's respectable. You know, that's commendable.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Here's a really good question. I'm trying to get myself, like, credit for myself too. Okay. Jim does great red carpet interviews. What does, oh my God, I'm an old person. Let me get my spectacles.
Put it on.
A little too, I got the straps too. That's how old I am. Like,
oh, there you go. At least it won't get lost.
Okay. What does Jim do when he is interviewing someone who doesn't have anything to say back? Ooh, I have a story too about that. You go ahead first. You have red cross that where they're a one-word person, or they're just like,
yeah. Kids are the worst, by the way. Kids don't know what to say when there's like
exactly. They don't.
Yeah, no, you know, like you cover some kids awards or something, like you just know you're gonna get one word responses. First of all, I pride myself. I'm like, if I could talk to a broom. So if I can talk to a broom, I can talk to a one-word answer, no doubt about it. There's always something you can pluck out. You follow up. Even yes, then why? It's like, oh, you like video games? Yes. Which ones? Do you play PlayStation? Do you have an Xbox? And then I'm telling you, even one-word responders, if you follow up with them, if you branch out the question, the yes or no question, they will start opening up and giving you more stuff, even if they don't realize it. You know what I mean? It's just a natural part of thing. Some people aren't uncomfortable talking, especially kids they're not skilled at this. You know, you can't request them to be like great interviewers or anything like that. And some people are shy or just kind of introverted in a way too. You know, that's just part of their personality. You're not going to hate on that, but I would never be like, sure, you love someone that just talks, you know, and it just goes on. But also sometimes there's over talkers like myself, and it's like, you need to stop yourself, you know, in that case. Yep. That's me, by the way. Yeah. But it's always something you could do. You know, I mean, I'm never worried about that or not. It just, you know, it might not be the longest interview, but it is what it is. So you just keep on going about it. And I'm sure you've encountered it plenty of times too, right?
Oh my God. Okay. So I had one, and I think people like my laugh. Yes, my laugh is crazy. Okay. So I remember having a guest come on, and he's a rapper, and he came in with the shades on. the whole thing.
Yes,
But he was
it's
friendly.
sunny inside.
Right, yeah. We're inside the studio at AfterBuzz, or Black Hollywood Live, one of my shows.
Yeah, yep.
And he was friendly, but he was just very just like, yes, no, yes, no. We sit down. The first 15 minutes interview, I'm like, I'm taking the shades off. Okay. And then and it was one word answers. And I thought, okay, I think maybe he's shy. And you just said something a second ago, I was like, that made me go, because you have to read the room a little bit too. And I was like,
Yep.
I think he's shy. He's not being a dick to me. He's just being shy. So I took a chance, like you just said earlier. I go, I have some ladies in the chat room who want to see your eyes. There were no ladies.
Nice.
There was none in the chat room. No ladies in the chat room at the time.
Yeah.
And they want to see
That's
your
a
eyes.
bet move
You
there.
sit back there, you're sitting there, they want to see those. I know you got some nice eyes in there somewhere. And he smiled, took off his glasses. And the interview went great after that. But the first 15 minutes, I was like dying on the vine. But I'm like you. Usually I can talk to people. Because I've had people come in the studio and go, how you gonna make me interesting for 45 minutes? Well, watch me. And then they leave the video. You made me interesting in 45 minutes. I told you, I know how to do this. I know how to make stuff happen. I know how to ask questions. I know how to make you.
Yeah, you got to own it. Sometimes you got to take the reins, James, and that's what you did there. You got to take the reins, and if they can't open up, it's kind of your job to help them open up, you know what I mean, and come out of that shell. That's why we do what we do. That's why not everyone can do this, you know. It's because you need to understand the room, like you said. You need to understand the different variations of personalities, that everyone's going to be different, and you need to be ready, you know, to bring something to the table. Like there's a genius way you went about it too, and it worked.
Who was the rapper? I ain't telling my business. This is on one of my shows, one of my breaking interviews, my award-winning show. It's on one of those.
There you go.
You can go through the list and see which one's a rapper. But he's he's super nice guy. We've gotten along since then. But just I realized he was just shy, and it turns out he's getting used to interviews. It's like he's used to rapping and being on stage. That's a different persona. But to sit down and talk about yourself and promote yourself, even a lot of hosts, they have a hard time doing that when it's talking. I don't have a problem.
Not at all. But you know what? Some of the hardest questions they said in an acting room is the question of not like, oh, do the audition or do the lines. Tell us about yourself. Actors dread that question, you know, and sometimes they most of the times actually the reason they don't get a role is because of that. They failed the question of tell us about yourself. And that's like a huge question to get in this industry. So you need to be always ready and know who you are.
That's right. That's very true. Okay, so next question I ask you, because it's happened to me once in all my years of wonderful interviewing.
Yeah,
I ended the show early once because I wanted to punch the guest in the face.
Oh damn!
One time. Again, you can look it up on my reel somewhere. This person came on with an agenda, which happens sometimes. You know this. Either a publicist tells them, okay, make sure you hit these 4 or 5 points or whatever.
Yep.
I always tell people, we'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get those 4 or 5. If I'm in a sit-down interview, we'll get there. Red carpet's different, but sit-down interview, I know the points. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, this person was just like, I'm just going to talk over James. I'm going to get my points out. I'm not going to answer his questions. And then insulted me on air. Because we were talking about, so this person, I won't say the name, said she wrote a book on how to not coddle children or something. Don't fear with fear, some shit like that. I don't know, some tired interview I did. But she never had children herself. It was all through college. She was book smart. So I am a father of 2, grandfather of 3. I've raised children. Mm-hmm. I can tell you there's no, and you can read 10,000 books, but occasionally there's something you got to do. What you got to do when you're a parent. You're a working parent. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. Nothing's right or wrong, but it is what it is. And so I kind of made that point, just saying that I like your approach to this, but I'm just telling you that I know. Well, if your kid gets scared, don't coddle them. Just tell them, don't be scared. And I'm like, no. If they're crying, I'm bringing them in my room with me. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna be there for them. She was like, well, that makes you, James, a bad parent.
Come on, man.
I'll be a bad parent and the engineer, who was it? Was it Mark Donica? I forgot. Somebody was in the booth, and you could hear a pin drop. I was like, did you just say call me a bad parent on my show? Like, did you just call me that? And then she continued to double down on it. I haven't watched the video in a long time, But I remember I looked at it and I was like a cartoon character. The heat in my face has got, it's like getting red. And I'm black. So, all of a sudden, we can see the changing color of my face. I was pissed, Jim. I wanted to reach.
Oh, who wouldn't be? 5 minutes of knowing you and talking to you, and she's decided your life story. You know what I mean? What you've done? Come on.
I guess so. And I ended the show. I said, okay. I said, everybody, so I want to thank you for coming on the show. You can get her book in bookstore somewhere. I'm James Lott Jr. We'll see you next time. Right in the show. I said, click off. I don't want to talk. She's on Skype. I said, click off the Skype. I'll talk to her. That was just completely rude. First of all, you're a guest in my home, so to speak. You're a guest. You don't attack the guest. But she had an agenda that was so strong that she wasn't able to relax, just like let it happen. And so, have you ever had any kind of combative interviews or interviews that just went wrong?
Not to that extent. Jeez, that sounds like a nightmare. I've had people.
Well, good.
Yeah. Thanks. Things I've learned through your experience. I've had people who have tried to hit their points right away, and like you just got to navigate around it. Yeah. And you just got to navigate around and be like, okay, kind of go along with it for a bit, but then switch it up and you kind of rein into control. It's about taking back your own control because you are in control of your own interview. You should be, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you're the guest. That's why you're the interviewer, so they've come on to it, but then I think they settle in after a while and like, okay, we're talking about it and we can go off to other things. But combative like that, no, I don't think I've ever at least think of had anything like that where I was insulted. I do the same thing you would. I would do the same thing. Like, game over. We're cutting this one up because, why should I waste my time talking to you if you don't respect me? You know what I mean? If I'm giving you the time of day and the platform, you know what I mean? I don't care that I'm not Ryan Seacrest. You still got to respect me in that sense. So you did the right thing.
Thank you. Now, also in my career, I've done one show drunk. And what had happened was I did a show called The Impastor After Show, and Michael Rosenbaum was the lead.
Oh, yeah.
And the producer. So
cool.
I did it with these two chicks named the two drunk girls, Lauren Leonelli and Jennifer Golden. I love them to death. So we did a bunch of shows together. But that was our show, and we knew Michael. So Michael would just show up on one of our nights and just bring actors from the show. I mean, it was wonderful. Our little show was great. We had a great 2 seasons. It was great.
Wow.
He just show up. Well, the girls like to drink. And I think one night we had champagne, all the lights. I hadn't eaten yet. And I'm telling you, I remember starting the show. I don't know how I got home. From Encino to Inglewood, I don't know how I got home. I got home somehow, in bed, safe, everything on tag. And I remember looking back, and I asked the girls if they were drunk too. We got a little too drunk. That was like crazy. I only did it one time. I've drank on camera a little bit, but I mean, that's not like that anymore. And they're like, yeah, we got a little wild, didn't we? I go, did we? And so I had to watch the show to see what happened. Oh, my brother was sitting on my lap, and I talking about I was rubbing his head, and we were just all kind of like, oh my God. But it was nothing super bad. The fans loved it, of course. It was a huge, highly rated show, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I was like, I can't do that again. I don't remember what I did on a show. in the public.
That's takes some guts to do that. I mean, unknowingly, I guess initially, but that's an all-timer right there. And you pulled it off. So here's that.
Oh, I did.
I never had anything like that. I don't drink. Good. So for me, water. Okay. Like after those cups of water they do again, I just have water all the time. I'm sure someone spiked some stuff there though at some point on some shows, no doubt about it.
And so does Jim have aspiration to work for a wrestling company like WWE, or does he prefer to stay in entertainment?
Sure. I'm open to both. I've tried out with wrestling companies before, and that's always on the table. I enjoy wrestling. It's part of it. I think I have a stronger foothold in just general entertainment, with my website and all. So, I mean, I guess I have the contacts and stuff more to be in that industry, but yeah, sure. I think I'd be good at it, but also I would probably have to be more corporate and tone down a bit if I was working for these companies. Like, can't trash the product, I guess, directly, so I'd probably have to be more PG, I'd say. I mean, I'm capable of that, no doubt about it. It would be fun because I love wrestling, but it also would be fun to work in sports because I love sports. I mean, covering a sports team or that I thought that would be great, or just continue in entertainment. So I like the fact that I have a few avenues and a few different interests, to cover in that sense, but yeah, wrestling would be great. And it's always something that on my mind and something I would try.
How have you navigated?
Navigated different mediums
this whole time for you, this whole COVID?
From like, you mean from entertainment to wrestling?
You obviously have your own,
So,
everything. How are you?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm navigating it by, it's about interests, right? What are you interested in? I cover topics and I stay with topics that I'm interested in, that it shows that I watch, products that I watch. I'm not going to ever claim to be like a soap opera genius because I don't watch it. You know what I mean? So I could never do what you do because you know so much more about it. But like, I feel like to be a good host or someone that covers these things, like you need to know the product you're covering, right? And you need to know it pretty well too, because people will know. These are diehards for a lot of these things. They will know if you watch a show, if you don't. How do you feel about something? Like, ooh, yeah, Hulk Hogan's great. Oh yeah, it's great that he hasn't wrestled and hasn't been on good for 2 decades. So it's like, yeah, you don't know anything about wrestling then. It's just like you need to know the product. And for me, it's like I would only cover things that I follow and I'm interested in. And obviously wrestling's that, but also different things. Like I watch sports religiously. I love NFL, NBA, and for sure, I mean, I'm big into also soccer. That's a big thing I'm into, like international soccer and in sorts of English Premier League. So I'm always interested in that. And then of course, movies and TV shows. It's one thing. It's like everyone's going to BS you if they say they watch all the TV shows. Like, oh yeah, I watch this. And they're like, you don't have the time in your day, or like you have no life, literally. Even in quarantine, there's no way. There's too much TV to watch it all.
There's too much.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I watch Ozarks and I watch Game of Thrones and I watch this, and it's like you've mentioned 20 TV shows. Like, yeah, you're watching. Like, you can't be an expert at all of those. Like, I'll be an expert at one show I watch religiously is The Bachelor. Like, I love the freaking Bachelor and 90 Day Fiance.
You mentioned it earlier, Jim Alexander. What is it about The Bachelor you like? What is it about it? It's a soap opera.
It is. I love dating shows and especially reality shows. So for me, my 2 favorite shows, quote unquote, are probably 90 Day Fiance and The Bachelor, and they're reality shows. I love them because like I think I've been watching Bachelor since probably over 5 years now. So that's a lot of seasons right there.
I would have never. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm judging you by cover, I guess. I would have never.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it myself. But I am like, I remember an ex got me into it, typical thing. Like, you watch The Bachelor and like, oh, hell no. Wrestling's on Monday nights, Monday Night Football. I'm not watching this. And, a few times I was bamboozled into watching it. And then suddenly we break up and I'm watching it alone. I'm continuing this. Wow, and then I started a blog. Before I started Real Talker, I had a blog about The Bachelor. It's still alive. Yes, it's still alive, and I'm considering starting to post again on it. I'm watching the current season with Matt James, and it's called thebacheloruniverse.com. Like THE thebacheloruniverse.com. It's still going. I haven't updated in a while, but it's a legit site. It used to get like tons of people, like people from The Bachelor would know about me. Like people from the show. Yes. Yep, I would have. You think of my wrestling hot takes were bad? Oh my God, my Bachelor hot takes were like epic. I would live tweet and all these things. It was insane, and I'm still getting back.
Stop right there for a second. I just want to tell you guys out there, I know men watch The Bachelor. That's not.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that it's a man watching. I'm shocked that's Jim watching it.
Exactly.
I know men watch The Bachelor. I'm just saying.
No doubt. I don't fit the demographic. I don't fit the criteria, Yeah, the guy that, you know, was into wrestling and all that stuff. And, you know, yeah, no, I love it. And I watch it on my own, you know, and I'm literally just, I'm like, you know, I think I'm going to do like video reviews of each week's episode. Like, and now I have a little bit, maybe more time. Like, I'm going to try to get into more Bachelor stuff now too. So,
You know, there you go, kids. And they want you to review it. And then someone goes, I want Jim on your soap show. See his take on soaps. That would be funny, folks. It'd be funny if he. I know actually. Well, I do have a show called I Wouldn't Normally Watch That. So maybe that could be an experiment. I give you 2 episodes of something, and we talk about it.
Hey, we could. I'm into drama and romance and, you know, affairs and all that stuff. That's good stuff to watch.
Okay, we might. Okay, we're gonna work on that, folks. We're gonna work something. That's a compromise between the two because he doesn't watch soaps all the time, folks.
Yeah, right.
But maybe I'll give him a couple episodes. I'll get his honest. I would love your honest take on it. That'd be hilarious.
I wouldn't sugarcoat it. What are we watching? Days of Our Lives, All My Children. What's the?
That's a good
General Hospital.
Either be General Hospital or Days of Our Lives. Be one of those.
Okay.
Days of Our Lives is outrageous. So I'm thinking maybe that one because
that's more outrageous, the better.
I love it. So I didn't expect the Bachelor thing. So I mean, what is it about the Bachelor that keeps you watching?
Oh my God, I always wish to be the Bachelor. You know how jealous I am of Matt James? He's got like 32 women this year, and it's like the highest amount of ever. Like, you want to be him, okay? You want to be on that show. You want to live that life. I mean, if I had to choose, like, ooh, what are your dream things? Like I mentioned, dating Mandy Rose, and second would be probably to be the Bachelor. Like, legit, out of like top wishes, that would be probably it. It's amazing, and I mean, obviously the drama's fun and all that, but hey man, any guy, you get all that in front of you. I don't know why you would say no or not. And I've auditioned for the show. I've auditioned for the show multiple times. Yeah.
Okay.
In person. Yeah. I'm that one guy out of like 500, you know, and 498 are women. And I'm that one out of 2 guys that shows up to the audition. No doubt about it.
So you could be on the Bachelorette, you too. If you could make.
That would be the show, right? Because it's like all the guys vying for the girls. That's probably where you usually start, Bachelorette, right. And then they pick you for the
So you say you also did that AfterBuzz too, right? Did you do the show on AfterBuzz or no? Did you do Bachelor over there?
I did 1 episode of a Bachelor after show.
Oh,
yeah. What? It was probably one of the better rated ones. They loved me on there, but you know, the conservative, you know, AfterBuzz producers wouldn't just allow this to happen on a regular basis. So
okay,
yeah,
very interesting. That's so funny. How hard is it to get guests?
It's not. I mean, depends what guests. I mean, for me to get like, you know, Chris Pratt or something, it's going to be pretty impossible. But at this point where I've been doing it, I get guests regularly. It's fairly easy. I have PR reaching out to me daily. I think it's more tougher to turn it down because you don't want to turn things down, you know, but you have to, because I just can't. Like last week I had 6 interviews and it's just like, I can't handle more because I got to edit and I got to post these things. And I'm like, I can't do more than 6 interviews in a week. So that was like one thing that I was just like, yeah, I got to start like this year's resolution. I guess it's like lowering my interviews per week, kind of maybe being more selective and picking kind of bigger names that I get. Like I get a lot of like B-list actors and directors and stuff, like a lot of known people for sure too, not like the A upper list, but I get good quality of people on my show, you know, and I get like now variety too. I want to branch out more to variety, not just only actors or directors or writers. Like I'm going into now more like wrestlers and music and athletes and just entertainments in general. And I like, who did I have lately? Oh, I had a guy from 98 Degrees, Jeff Timmons. You know,
yeah.
like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Jeff Timmons was on, so that was a blast. I want to do more of that. It'd be cool for me to kind of diversify, I guess, my guests. But it's not tough, but I worked for it for a long time. I've been at this for a while. You know, you get to a point, I guess it's kind of a reward finally you get that you start having guests come to you instead of you looking to book, because I know it's tough to look, I see a lot of my friends, who are just getting started this. And I mean, I commend people like Flobo and Jack, who are just constantly getting guests and finding guests, and they don't have the platform. They haven't been around long enough, like I have, fortunately, to make the connections and get, the amount of work. But it's tough. It's tough initially to find people to come on your shows, because there's so many shows out there and podcasts, to do. So I guess I've developed some credibility over the years that I'm fortunate enough to get the guests. But yeah, I guess I would say that it's kind of tougher to pick which ones.
Yeah, I agree. No, I got to the point too where I work with PR firms. I reach out on my own, but also I have PR firms that send me people. And you're right. It's almost like I got to spread this out, or I got to obviously come at once. It's a great problem to have, obviously, and you and I know you are very grateful, like I am, to have that problem.
No question.
But yeah, for all the new people out there, I want to say that, because I want people, a lot of the newer folks that I kind of mentor in the business and help out. They're like, it's so hard to get something. Yes, at first it is. Sometimes when you start somewhere, it really is hard at first. But just keep at it. Do good shows. Do good interviews. Be a nice person. And chances are,
it'll build. It's all over time. It literally comes over time. The more you do it, the more you put out. And yes, I do have a phone from 1970.
I'm like, where, Jim? Stop talking. I'm like, I got a princess phone on the wall.
It doesn't even work. It's legitimately
hilarious.
It doesn't even have a signal. Not at all.
Oh my God. I love it though. I fucking love it. I love it.
I know. It's at my mom's. I'm at my mom's right now. So I'm like, she got this on the wall. No one ever took it down. No one uses a house phone here. Everyone's got cell phones, but it's just kind of it's an antique at this point. So there you go.
It is. I love it. Oh my God, I love it. I was like drifting off to your left.
Yeah.
As you were, I was saying, it builds and builds and builds, and like everything. So what is your message to people as we start to wrap up? I've talked to you forever, but as we start to wrap up, to people who are starting out. But we've been around for a while. But folks, what would you like to say to them?
No question. I'm going to do a little walkthrough. Just got to plug in, charge the phone. You see, this is live. This is what happens,
people. This is what happens in the real world.
This is what happens, and you got to document this for people. Like, you run out of phone battery, you got to do things, and you just got to roll with it on the fly. And I think the best way is to be honest about this. Like, you see the damn rotary phone thing in the background. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. So you just got to roll with the punches and point it out to the audience. I always felt that way.
I love it.
So the question was, again, what was the question?
But a phone from the past. I know it's funny.
There is.
I was just saying, as we wrap up, what is your message to folks who are just starting out? Like, what's the one main message you tell them?
Well, it's funny because like some of now our buddy Flobo and stuff, Jack, they were starting out like when AfterBuzz stopped, so they've been almost a year in a game now. But when they're starting, I always told them, like, you always want to see results, right? It's like, oh, I want to see results. Why am I getting the viewers and the followers and all that? That takes time. Just do the content. And I love what our friends have done is they committed to it, because you don't want to AfterBuzz close. There's a bunch of people like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a blog. How long are you going to stick with it? Right. Tell me how long you're doing. Oh, it's cool for a month, but then if you got to do it on a day-to-day, they fall off. People fall off. That's how you know who's in it for the real reasons. Like you, James, you have a network that you create. Look at the shows you do. That's commitment. That is commitment and the work ethic, and that's the biggest key. Is keep doing it. Don't worry about the fans or people will come. People will find your content eventually. Or word of mouth will come around. It happened for me. I started with Real Talker Hey, I jumped from like big national places to like Real Talker, 0 fans. Who knows what that is? But now, 3-4 years later, I'm getting legit interviews and I'm getting, decent viewership and all that. And it just grows. So you got to trust in yourself. You got to put into work, because there's no shortcuts to this. There just isn't. You just got to be doing it. Consistency is what wins. Consistency and effort, and you learn things along the way. You start getting more creative. You take chances. You want to diversify different things. But that's just with experience. And the best way to gain experience is literally by being consistent and putting in work, putting out content.
Thank you, Jim. You're great, Jim. Thank you very much for being on my show. You have to come back.
Oh, I'm glad we made this happen. I mean, it was due. Okay, James, it was a long time due. I see all my friends on your show. Yeah. There's that envy. It's like when will James and Jim connect? You know, like you called it the Titans. You labeled it the Titans on social.
Jim Alexander, James Lott Jr. Like, we did
Titans collide. This is awesome. You know, so I'm glad. Like I said, you're one of the real ones. You've done this for longer than a lot of us have, and you're a good example of what it is to keep it consistent and doing things the right way. You know, and not relying on one place to build your career, you know what I mean? Because then you're going to be left on the street and with nothing, you know what I mean? You got to take matters in your own hands. You got to be able to create. You've built your stuff and you're a great example of how to do things the right way, and you've done it. So I've always had a lot of respect for you, you know, and I don't give out my respect to, as people know, often to people, you know. I'm kind of an ass when it comes to that, you know, but I definitely, like I always say, the guys in the locker room know who's good and who's not. You always know who's the good one, you know, and who's real. And you've definitely been someone I've heard about and I've seen and always heard great things about, never anything bad. And I'm glad we got to finally connect. We've been crossing paths for a long time, but this has been cool.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Tell folks where they can find you and Real Talk Radio. This is your chance. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, there you go. I get to self-promote. Awesome. My favorite part. So you can realtalker.com. That's REEL talker.com is the website. There's a lot of content there. On social media, I am at the Jim Alexander. So THE Jim Alexander on Instagram and Twitter and pretty much all social media. It's at the Jim Alexander. And then subscribe to my YouTube page. It's just search Real Talker on YouTube. All my latest videos go there first before I even upload them to the site with additional article or whatnot. But realtalker.com, I've been seeing a huge spike in subscribers, so something's good happening. I guess people are finally accidentally coming across my stuff. So any subscribers and likes on YouTube is great. So that's where my newest content. I'm almost posting daily these days. Daily, almost have an interview up. So there's always fresh stuff coming up.
All right, and folks, I will put that in the description after the show, so you'll be here. You guys can go, and if you forget all that, you'll be able to follow him. Do it.
Same to you, James. Follow your stuff. I mean, your 1,002 networks that you have. The man speaks on everything, so make sure you catch at least some of it.
Yeah, it's something for everybody. I'm a James of all trades, some shit like that. Yes, and follow me. We're all James Lott Jr. are sold at James Lott Jr. and social media platforms. Thank you to folks in the chat room. They love the chat. They're wishing you the best. You're an amazing host, Jim, they said.
Thanks,
thank you, everybody. It's so funny to see James and Jim. Like, yeah, it's kind of funny putting together our names. And everybody, please stay safe, stay sane as you can. It's a new day, and try something. You want, it's just about connecting, but try something. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and do it. Just do it. And we'll see you next time.